Hello, my name is Fraser Simons. This is my channel, Springboard Thought. Today I'm doing the S tag, which originated with Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff, I believe. And I saw this on Roz's Gallidandaling About the Books channel. Both my name and my channel start with an S, so Roz pointed out that I could do the tag, and so here I am. It seems like a self-tagging type of situation where if you associate your name or your channel or pretty much anything, I think, with the letter S, then you can do the tag. So I don't need to tag anybody, just self-tag yourselves. Very easy. I'm not going to be doing all of the prompts just because some of them I'm not familiar with enough to answer them, like the log cabin stuff. There's 4 books listed and I only know one of them, so it doesn't seem like I would be able to answer them anyway. But I'll try to answer the stuff that I think I have an interesting answer for. So the first tag is S is for science fiction. What science fiction author have you read the most books by? By far, it is the Expanse authors, the duo of authors that do the core books and the numerous novella short stories that coalesce after each book usually. By James S.A. Corey. I have read the entirety of the books that have come out so far, so that's got to be like 15 or 16 of them or something. And I don't typically read an entire bibliography of an author or even a series, so I'm very much into these books. If you don't know what The Expanse is, it is near future-ish, where the conceit is that there has been technology invented called the Epstein drive, I believe, which is a drive that allows for space travel that is not as fast as light, but it is extremely fast and it is extremely efficient. It is never explained how this technology has come about whatsoever, but it has enabled over the course of a couple hundred years, I believe, for Mars to develop a colony and is a faction in the book, and for the Belt to have come about, which is another faction, people who live on space stations, who mine asteroids and have generations of people that live there now. They have their own sort of physiology and they have their own language, and then we have Earth, which is sort of a still powerhouse, but not as much, with Mars being a contender and the Belt sort of being pushed to the side and a workforce that is completely ignored, basically. There's a found family of characters of which the book flips through. In each chapter a different point of view happens usually, and this happens because they are on a freighter that is going somewhere. I think they're just carrying mined asteroid stuff for a corporation when they are attacked by a Mars vessel, which could be an inciting incident for war. And they are the only ones that escape the ship, and they have this first-hand knowledge that could potentially start the war or end the war, depending on what they've actually seen, which I don't want to give away in it. But the first book's plot hinges on a bioweapon that is revealed, the factions being in a sort of powder keg situation where things could blow up, and it's been compared to sort of like a Cold War type of paralleling fiction with the found family unit. The first book is the weakest, and it only gets better from there. The writing is really economical and precise, despite the books being very large. They're page turners, they're formatted like thrillers. There's a big emphasis on psychology and how that motivates the specific actions of each person, even the villains. I think it's pretty fantastic. It's not literary, but it is the absolute peak that you can get with commercial fiction, as far as I'm concerned. S is for Star Trek. What's your favorite Star Trek series? The newest one, Discovery, I like a lot. It's the first one that actually looks and feels futuristic, is sort of interrogating the strange hierarchy that is established with Starfleet and how other worlds perceive them as, you know, what they are, intrusive forces that are like imperialistic and formed in a sort of Navy hierarchy type situation. So yeah, and the new one is, you know, just pretty to look at, actually has good actors and a good script usually, so I like and prefer that. S is for school story. What is your favorite book with a school setting? By far and away, and probably one of the best books that I've read this year, for sure, it'll be on my top 10, is Vita Nostra, translated from Russian. It is a Kafka-esque story of a young girl who is pulled into a sort of dark fantasy world / science fiction-y. It's not too much explained, so it's like soft world building principles. But this young girl is sort of recruited by somebody that we see as having weird power dynamics with her. She goes on vacation. She meets a man who gives her a task and threatens her that if she doesn't do this stuff, then bad things in her life would happen for her mother. And as she completes these tasks, some of which seem completely arbitrary, like swimming to a buoy out in the river before anybody wakes up and swimming back, she begins to vomit gold coins. And when she has enough of them, her sort of mentor, recruiter, peer pressure, weird situation person tells her that she has been recruited to go to basically a magical school that is in the boonies of outside of Moscow, I think, but so far away that it wouldn't really be feasible for people to even visit her. And again, if she doesn't go, then bad things will happen to her family. At the institution, she finds that she is studying things that doesn't make sense to her, like she literally cannot consume the information and keep it in her mind. And so the actual structure of the book and the plot beats are designed as a puzzle that even the reader is trying to come to grips with and understand. I'll just say that the magic system in the book is incredibly interesting, probably the most interesting magic system I've ever come across. Unraveling what is actually happening is one of the most satisfying experiences that I've had with a book. The characterization is great, the dialogue is great, it's different, very interesting, some of the most compelling dark fantasy stuff that I've ever read, and I really hope that the rest of the trilogy is translated and it does well as well, so you should go pick it up. S is for satire. What is your favorite satirical novel? I have tried to tackle a couple of classics like Catch-22 and some others, and none of them have pulled it off whatsoever for me. I want to get to the Confederacy of Dunces because I've heard that is well handled. S is for Steinbeck. What is your favorite Steinbeck novel? East of Eden by a mile, I would say. I did like, Grapes of Wrath. I think I've read most of his books, but this just seemed like quite the masterpiece to me. So the next couple I'm going to skip, but there is a S is for Stalin. Stalin was a monster, but does he have any redeeming qualities? He was a dictator, so I would say the only redeeming quality for a dictator is if they engage in a restorative justice process, which is far too late for him. And so no, I think not. S is for short story. What is your preferred length? I think my preference is a novel still. I've just read flash fiction from Mark Nash that I thought was fantastic though, and that had to sort of make me negotiate my relationship with shorter fiction. But typically if I read a short story collection, I don't think I've ever put it above 4 stars. I'm pretty sure that's true. Just because they're so uneven typically. The high points are never maintained and the low points can be numerous. So I don't think that's ever been a thing, but I will say that with essays, I have had much better success with, such as Had I Known. That was a 5-star read for me and might fit in with the satirical prompt as well, actually. She has a lot of essays that come off as satirical. They're smart, witty, clever, actually funny. So maybe that fits in with both prompts, actually. S is for Scotland. What is your favorite book set in Scotland? By far, Nan Shepherd's The Living Mountain. That book was mind-blowingly good. I didn't know what to expect from that book because it is, she invented mountain fiction, which I hadn't heard of, but it is sort of like nature reading basically, which I also hadn't read. But some of the most evocative and interesting ways of characterizing a journey, and B, the environment, the surroundings, the ecosystem, the things that she takes note of and what that makes her think of is just supremely interesting. The audiobook is narrated by Tilda Swinton, I'm fairly certain. Whoever did it anyway, it was perfect. I definitely am going to read more from Nan Shepherd. That book was incredible, and it's all about her walking the Scottish cairns. So check that out if it's interesting to you. S is for supernatural. What is your favorite supernatural story? I think this would make sense from what I remember of it, but Gormenghast for sure. This is the best written fantasy / science fiction that I've ever read. It is absolutely a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't care really about the established sort of genre conventions whatsoever. It's very gothic, it's very dark. It's just extremely compelling, and it's definitely designed to be read aloud, and you can tell if you check it out in an audiobook. It is completely exceptional, but the illustrated edition with the pictures are also amazing, of course. At least check out Titus Grown if you're interested in science fiction fantasy. S is for Scandinavian Noir. Have you tried this subgenre of crime fiction? Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Scandinavian Noir, especially though, I would say on television shows and movies. Book-wise, I can't think of too many series that I've consumed yet because they're very hard to get in Canada unless they're the extremely mainstream ones that aren't so good usually. But the thing that got me into it, of course, is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which set the stage for a lot of the tropes that you see in the modern police procedural side of it. A lot of the other tropes that are indicative of the subgenre are present in this one though. The thing that I love about Scandinavian Noir in this book is it is uncompromising in its critique of capitalism, the power dynamics at play in society, and the marginalization of specific people due to it. It's always critiquing an institution, it's punching up. It usually characterizes the bad guys much more effectively than American crime. It's much more at peace with being blatantly political because the American crime ones, people are obsessed with not having politics in their stuff that they're consuming. Scandinavian Noir doesn't have any qualms about it whatsoever, and usually everybody is quite flawed. It's quite dark. It's noir-esque, of course, and it's just far more compelling. And if I'm going to consume anything with police procedural type of stuff, it's going to be that. And that's it. That's the end of the tag. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next video. And again, if you feel like doing the tag, I think you can make pretty much any association with S and just tag yourself and do it. So just do it if you want to do it. And I'll see you next video. Bye.